Welcome back to the channel. We're here today and we're talking yet again about Wrexham AFC transfer news. Today is a very unexpected video. It's news that's broken in the past 24 hours or so, and probably one of the craziest videos I will film on this channel. Today, like I said, we're going to be reviewing all of the Wrexham transfer news. We've got two players that we could see possibly be joining the club for a combined what would be £20+ million. So it's going to be an interesting video. If you'd like to see more Wrexham AFC content, make sure to get down there and click that subscribe button. We're on the road to 29,000 subscribers. It's a big video as well today. Let's go for 375 likes. And without further ado, let's get talking first on a transfer target. So Sheffield Wednesday reporter Alex Miller revealed yesterday that Wrexham are one of the clubs readying a bid for wide player Yan Valery, who has been one of the Owls' top performers this season in the Championship for a very struggling Sheffield Wednesday side who currently sit bottom of the Championship. He spent 2 seasons at Sheffield Wednesday, and in both seasons he's been one of their main performers down that right hand side, a consistent performer, good consistent performances. And if we're looking at this season, we've seen Yan Valery play against Wrexham, of course, in the home game in the 2-2 draw, and as it stands, we might see him play against us on 31st of January for Sheffield Wednesday. That's obviously depending on whether a deal goes through or not. But so far this season, Valery has played primarily on the right flank, where statistics-wise, for a very poor side like Sheffield Wednesday, who have only signed loan players, are playing most of their kids that they've got from the academy, I think the stats do show that Yan Valery is a very good player considering the team and the circumstances that he's currently in at Sheffield Wednesday. 26 successful dribbles, 129 duels won, 15 chances created, and if you're looking at those stats, if they were for a side that were in just the top half of the table, you would most likely see him get a lot more assists. I'm not sure if Valery's got an assist this season. I think he might have got one to his name, but if you're playing in a team where you're constantly creating chances, putting those crosses into the box, being positive down that right hand side and creating those chances for the strikers, then you're going to get assists to their name, because I think it's fair to say Sheffield Wednesday up front, they're not the strongest force. Bailey Cadamartri, I think, is probably their standout performer up front, but he's not going to score you all the goals in the world. So I think if he was to join Wrexham, putting in the crosses for Kiefer Moore, for Sam Smith, who are poachers inside the penalty box, then I'm sure he'd get a lot more assists to his name. And you're looking at his other attributes as well. His pace and his stamina down that right hand side are also said to be one of his main attributes, which I think is a theme for Phil Parkinson and sort of the recruitment section at Wrexham Football Club over the past couple of years. Maybe in the past 1 or 2 transfer windows where they've wanted to get those wide players in who can play in the wing-back role, who are just going to be direct, fast, and putting those constant crosses into the box. So it follows that theme of recruitment over the past couple of windows. And I think if you're looking at Valery as a player, he's got so much experience under his belt. Yes, you might say he's playing for the bottom side in the Championship. There's obviously a reason, because he's not the best of players, but he's got experience under his belt. And I do think, and I'm not just saying this because we're linked with him, but he's a player that you look at from the outside as an EFL fan and you think everything that's going on in that club at the minute, you look at the likes of Barry Bannon, you add Yan Valery to that list. They're players that have stayed loyal to the club, but it comes to a time where Sheffield Wednesday will need to sell these players. Barry Bannon is set to leave to Millwall. Yan Valery might leave to either Wrexham or Rangers, which we'll get talking on in a minute. So he deserves to be playing for a team that aren't going to be in League One next season. And if you look at the experience he's gained, he's played in Ligue 1 for Angers. He's played for Southampton in the Premier League. He broke through at Southampton. He was on loan at Birmingham, and most recently, over the past 2 seasons, he's been a consistent performer and the number 1 choice down the right hand side for Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. Like I've just said about Sheffield Wednesday wanting to cash in, I think there's no doubt in my mind at all, and there'll be no doubt in the fans' minds, that although they don't want to lose these players, they don't really have a choice at this moment in time. You're going to get a good transfer fee for Yan Valery, whether it's £1 million, whether it's £1.5 million. Sheffield Wednesday at this moment in time need the funds, and I don't think they're in any position to reject offers from higher up Championship clubs, considering the inevitable relegation is going to happen next season to League One. So on their front, they won't want to let him go, but I think that now is the right time to get the best possible price for one of their players, given that the fact they've still got that Championship status to their name. But if you're looking at Wrexham's front on this and the competition that we do face, it's not going to be easy, and if anything, we might have a lower hand in sort of this transfer that could happen for Yan Valery, because Glasgow Rangers have shown interest in him, and manager Danny Roll is said to be a big admirer of the 26-year-old. So if you are looking at this, if you don't already, put 2 and 2 together. Last season at Sheffield Wednesday, Danny Roll was the manager. Yan Valery, I think he got 8 assists to his name, played 43 games in the Championship. he's going to be a big fan of him. And if this gives Rangers an upper hand in securing his services, I definitely do think there's a chance. Obviously, Danny Röhl, he was admired by a lot of Sheffield Wednesday players. He was a favourite amongst the players at his time at the football club, and if players want to follow him up to Glasgow Rangers, who of course are playing in Europe, I think they've just been knocked out last night, but are going for a league title, will Yan Valery want that challenge up in Scotland, or will he want to stay in the Championship? Because at 26 years old, if you go into Glasgow Rangers, you'll see a lot of players go to the SPFL who are either failed players in the EFL or, are coming to the end of their careers, they've had a good career over in England or in foreign leagues. And that's no disrespect. I think Celtic obviously have got a good recruitment process, but if you're looking at the other clubs who, the players that come from the EFL over to the SPFL or even the Premier League to the SPFL, it's sort of a given sign that they're coming to the end of their career or they're not going to make it in the EFL. So I don't think that is going to be the case with Yan Valery. 26 years old, he could easily get a Championship move this transfer window. So it's a question as to whether he wants to come to Wrexham or follow Danny Röhl up to Glasgow Rangers. But if you're looking again in the circumstances where I can only imagine that there might be a move for Ryan Barnett in the final couple of days of the transfer window, because that leaves you down that right hand side with Yan Valery, Issa Kabore, Ryan Longman and Ryan Barnett. There might even be a name that I've missed out on there, but you've got 4 wing backs. If we're looking to bring players in, you need to offload players, and whether Barnett is a better option than Valery or vice versa, we really don't know. I think that's a question for you to answer in the comment section down below. Would you keep Ryan Barnett or loan him out to bring Yan Valery in to obviously free up that spot? Because I think in recent games, Barnett has shown some good signs. He just didn't get the ball as much in that game. I think it was against Norwich. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Moving on to a quite crazy bit of news, and a bit of news that has completely blown my mind in the past 24 hours. And as soon as we thought this was going to be a quiet transfer window for Wrexham, we'd obviously see a couple players leave, maybe get one player in for maybe a loan spell or a couple of £1 million. No, that's completely been turned on its head, and we've heard the news yesterday that Wrexham have sent in a £19 million bid for 19-year-old striker Sidiki Cherif as we look to compete with current FA Cup holders Crystal Palace to secure the striker's services. I'm thinking the same thing. The thousands watching at home are thinking the same thing. What on earth could happen in the final week of the transfer window for Wrexham? Because it could be absolutely mesmerising. So obviously Sidiki Cherif is a name that you'll be well aware of. We've talked about him on the channel before. I think we talked about him sort of November time when Wrexham had put in that interest for him, and I talked about him on a couple of videos ago, I think last week, saying that Wrexham were going to show interest in a striker, and I said I think I'd like to see us bring in another striker, and whether it would be Sidiki Cherif, then we really don't know. I think I said no at the time, but that was before the rumours started circulating again, and as we've seen now, Wrexham are going to compete with Crystal Palace to get the 19-year-old into the football club. Now, if you are looking at Cherif as a striker, he currently plays his football in the top tier of French football for Angers, where he's currently scored 4 goals in 18 games. But it seems to be with Cherif, it's more than his goals that have caught the eye of some of the top clubs in recent months. It's his attributes that he's shown at such a young age that a lot of clubs obviously feel like he can go right to the very top. And I've watched his compilations, I've done a lot of research on Cherif, and at 19 years old, he seems to have most of the package that you do want for a striker, especially coming into the Championship. He's strong, he's powerful on the ball, he's fast, he's good with the ball at his feet. In 1v1 situations, Sidiki Cherif is such a positive player, likes to take on his man, isn't afraid to get a shot on goal. And don't get me wrong, I think it's an insane amount of money to be paying at this level. One, for a Championship club, it would completely smash the Championship record transfer fee out of the window by I think £2 million. Second of all, he's 19 years old. He's only scored, I think it's probably below 10 goals in his senior career. So it is a massive, massive risk, but his attributes no doubtedly would add so much to this Wrexham side and help with our playoff push. It's just a question as to whether, is he worth £19 million? In my opinion, I'm not going to sit here and argue with anyone at home that says it's not going to be worth it, because I completely agree with you. It is such a big risk. In my opinion, it's kind of a high risk, high reward for Wrexham, because it's a high risk paying £19 million. But again, you're looking at this in a situation, Sidiki Cherif comes into the club. He comes in, he scores the goals, he gets Wrexham to the playoffs, and there is a parallel universe where Sidiki Cherif is the player that turns £19 million into £200 million, as he might score the goal that promotes us to the Premier League. He might be the final piece in the jigsaw which Wrexham Football Club need to take that step up from mid-table to the playoffs and then go one step further and reach the ultimate goal, which at the end of the day is the Premier League. And if Phil Parkinson thinks that Sidiki Cherif is that player and he's worth the £19 million that we're set to pay for him, then let Phil Parkinson, let the hierarchy at Wrexham Football Club do their thing, because it's a lot of money. The club are obviously generating a lot from sponsorships, the documentary, obviously money comes back into the club. So £19 million is obviously still a lot of money, but if the money's there to be spent, and if Sidiki Cherif is at the top of the list for transfer targets for strikers, then go for it, Phil Parkinson, go for it. The money's yours. Yes, you're going to obviously suffer a lot of stick if the signing goes wrong, because we've seen a lot of clubs. Fortunately, Wrexham aren't in a situation where this is a signing that if it goes wrong is going to completely bust the club. We've seen it with Sunderland with their back-to-back relegations. They're paying like £70,000 a week, spending loads of money. I think it was Didier and Dong a couple of years ago, which ultimately sent them down. It was a £15 million move, which didn't work out. It's a high risk for Wrexham, but like I said, it could work out at the end of the day. And if we are looking at the competition, there's no hiding the fact that it's going to be tough to get Sidiki Cherif. It seems to be such a big player for such a big transfer fee, considering we're approaching the final week of the transfer window. It's going to be hectic. Phil Parkinson, Steve Parkin, Ryan and Rob, Sean Harvey, Humphrey Carr are going to be working overtime a hell of a lot in the final couple of days of the transfer window, because if you're competing with Crystal Palace, who have great credentials, they've just won the FA Cup, they're in the Premier League, they're mid-table, they've got ambitious plans to obviously regain that form. They're in Europe this season, so if they're going to show interest in signing him, then Wrexham do have strong competition and need to go out there and if we can get him over Crystal Palace, it would show a huge statement of intent. Obviously, that is if the signing of Cherif obviously pays off at the end of the day. But Crystal Palace, I think is interesting in this, have offered him a loan until the end of the season. They've offered Angers £3 million to take him on loan until the end of the season, which does obviously also include an obligation to buy in the summer for £12 million. However, Wrexham have sent an upfront fee of £12 million to buy him straight out in January, which includes £7 million in add-ons, which will most likely be promotion bonuses, goal bonuses, appearance bonuses, etc. So if you're looking at this from an Angers point of view, what do you take? Do you take the £3 million, send him out on loan and then lose him for £12 million, which obviously does collate and add up to £15 million? Or do you take Wrexham's bid, which is £19 million, but it's not guaranteed to reach the £19 million? Either way, are Wrexham going to reach the Premier League anytime soon? We really don't know. If it's goal bonuses, appearance bonuses, etc., it might rise to £13.5 million. So it's about Angers, it's about the players. I'm sure they'll be having a lot of deep discussions with agents, with players, with both sets of sides. So I don't know what's going to happen on this front. It's a really exciting bit of news. Is he worth the £19 million? I really don't know. But again, it's really exciting because it seems like yesterday that I was really excited about Wrexham paying £40,000 for Jack McGrath in the summer of 2017. Fast forward 9 years and we're set up a £19 million bid for a striker in League One battling with Crystal Palace. It's crazy, it's absolutely crazy, and every day that goes by at Wrexham Football Club is a new day to just be absolutely mind blown. You can never expect the unexpected now at Wrexham, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think it'd be a good sign, and do you think we should splash £19 million in? And finally, do you think he's the final piece of the jigsaw that can see Wrexham push for promotion this season? And I would just like to say as well, Mo Farl has been recalled from his loan spell at League One side Port Vale after suffering injury. In my opinion, I would have liked to have seen him come back anyway, even if he didn't get injured, because it's not worked out for him. It's not worked out for Mo Farl at Port Vale. He's a very talented striker. He's proved it in League One, and it's a situation and an environment at Port Vale which has been very negative this season, at the bottom end of the table. So whether we might keep him till the end of the season, whether the injury is quite bad, he won't obviously be able to secure a loan move after the 2nd of February. So we don't know on that front, but Mo Farl has returned to Wrexham. So that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video. Hopefully it might be after we've signed a new £19 million striker. What a time to be a Wrexham fan. Take care, guys. Let's hope for a big 3 points tomorrow as well against QPR. Up the filthy rich Reds.